fuck we about to do? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hey NBA fans, it's your boy Poontang here, and I wanted to show you why James Harden's move is actually a trap. Okay, so I'm not a referee or anything, I'm just a guy who has an interest in reading and likes going through the rule books. So I'm going to break down the pivot rule, the traveling rule, and dribble rule for all of you guys so you understand what they are. So let me hop into this. I'm going to break down how this is a travel. So a pivot. A pivot takes place when a player who is holding the ball steps once or more than once in any direction with the same foot with the other foot, pivot foot, in contact with the floor. B. If the player wishes to dribble after a pivot, the ball must be out of his hands before the pivot foot is raised off the floor. If the player raises his pivot off the floor, he must pass or attempt a field goal before the foot is returned to the floor. If he fails to follow these guidelines, he has committed a traveling violation. Traveling. A player who comes to a stop on step 1 when both feet are on the floor or touch the floor simultaneously may pivot using either foot as his pivot. If he jumps with both feet, he must release the ball before either foot touches the floor. A player who lands on one foot first may only pivot using that foot. A dribble is a movement of the ball caused by a player in control who throws or taps the ball to the floor. The dribble ends when the dribbler touches the ball simultaneously with his hands. With that breakdown of the rules, for people who didn't know, break down the move is quite simple. Keeping above the rules that I just told you in your head, as we can see from the rules, from the movement on where the dribble ends, there will be a distinction between the pivot foot and the non-pivot foot. Therefore, we need to look at the moment when Harden ends his dribble and how his feet are placed. The moment in question is pictured here. Harden has the ball in both of his hands, which means the dribbling has ended now. His left foot is on the floor, that is now his pivot foot. According to the rules, the other foot can be moved freely. If the pivot leaves the floor, the player has to pass or shoot before bringing it back to the floor. Otherwise, this is a traveling violation. In this picture, you can see that Harden lifted up his pivot foot. According to the rules, is allowed as long as the player shoots or passes before the pivot foot returns to the floor. Up until here, everything is legal. This is where we see the travel. And this picture clearly shows that Harden has planted both of his feet on the ground, which means the pivot foot that he lifted in the previous step is now back on the floor, which means he has had a traveling violation. I feel like this is a common misunderstanding that leads people to think that this is legal, is that so-called gather step or 1-2 step. The rule for this only applies to getting a pass, not when you pick up the ball after your own dribbling. This can be seen here. In the traveling section, a player receives the ball while he is progressing upon completion of a dribble may take 2 steps and coming to a stop, passing or shooting the ball. The player who receives the ball while he is progressing must release the ball to start his dribble before his second step. The first step occurs when a foot or both feet touch the floor after gaining control of the ball. The second step occurs after the first step when the other foot touches the floor or both feet touch the floor simultaneously. A progressive player who jumps off one foot on the first step may land with both feet simultaneously. For the second step, in this situation, the player may not pivot with either foot, and if one or both feet leave before the ball must be released before either returns to the floor. So with that being said, Harden lifts his pivot foot and lands on it with the ball still in his hands. According to the rules, this is a travel violation because the player has to get rid of the ball before the lifted pivot foot is planted back on the floor. So I want to hear what everyone's thoughts on this is about. It's not really a huge deal. Everybody knows that AI came up with the philosophy, I guess. You got to do it quicker than the refs can see it. It's legal if the refs don't see it. Pretty much as long as you do it faster than the refs can think, you got it. Like, you got it. But that's been about it, guys. This was all taken from a Reddit post. So I'll leave a link to the Reddit post down below. By any means, I didn't figure this out. This is just, I have my own input in this in some way and stuff, but this is, I just found Reddit. I'll leave a link to it down below if you guys want to do some reading about it, so you don't have to hear my voice. That's about it, guys. Hope you guys have a great day. As always, I hope you guys enjoy, and a peace out.
Certified fiend since I turned 16. You can smell that blue dream in my G-Star jeans.
I don't give a fuck, homie, that's my whole thing. I don't really give a fuck, homie, that's my whole thing.
Pocket full of drugs, cost more than my shoes. If you take me on a mama, then she probably wanna cruise. I'm an Adderall fiend, bought them blues by the two. She said get your shit together, but I'd rather be confused. Hey, ooh, what the fuck we about to do? I got 20 different problems and they all come back to you. I got